Good afternoon and good evening. Ganapri ma'am, can I start? So good afternoon and good evening to all the participants who have gathered here. And we have our lead panelist, Ms. Harini Narayanasamy, as our lead speaker in the topic recent trends in the domain name disputes arbitration, which is one of the KFCRI sector-specific webinar series. Thank you, Ms. Harini Narayanasamy, for accepting our invitation and for your kind presence here. And I am Shanmugadev, one of the managing committee of KFCRI, will be the host today. And we have Ms. Ganapriya, one of the research associate of KFCRI. She'll be the moderator for today's session. And a brief introduction about our lead panelist. Ms. Harini Narayanasamy is one of the international attorney, and she's also an intellectual property attorney. And she's one of the top panelists and a well-known panelist in WIPO, that is World Intellectual Property Organization, Geneva. And a bit of housekeeping rules before we proceed to the whole session. Please try to restrain from using the chat box, and whatever questions you have from now and then start putting in the Q&A box, which is right next to the chat box. So now Ganapriya ma'am, it's your turn to continue the session. Please have your moderation.
Thank you, Dev. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Ma'am, can we start our webinar? Some general informations about domain name. Domain name are considered as an internet real estate. So can you enlighten us with some basic informations, ma'am?
Certainly. Good afternoon to all the participants. It's a pleasure to be talking to you on this Sunday afternoon about domain name disputes. Now, domain name basically are internet identifiers or internet addresses to reach a website. All domain names have what is called a TLD or a top level domain and a second level domain. Now, TLDs can be either GTLDs, which are generic top level domains, or country code top level domains. Now, generic top level domains were initially about 6 of them, which were .com is of course the most popular, .mil for military organizations, .org for non-profit entities, .government, GOV, and for educational institution it was .edu. Now, country code top level domains are based on the International Standards Organization Alpha 2 codes for various countries. Just to give you examples, .in is used for India, FR for France, .jp for Japan, and .us for USA. So this is how all the countries have 2 letters designated to them for their country-specific domain names. I will give you an example. Now, suppose we take this CovisiFoundation.org. The .org part of it, of course, is the top level domain, the generic top level domain, and the other part of it is the second level domain. And most of the domain name disputes arise in the second level part of the domain name. Now, who will assign all these domain names? These domain names are assigned by an entity, a non-profit entity based in the US in Los Angeles, called ICANN, expanded to the International Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. ICANN manages all the domain names and IP addresses around the world, and also decides who will be the service providers for domain name disputes. domain names are assigned on a first come, first served basis. This is very important because of this reason that many domain name disputes take place, and also that if the domain name is found to be infringing or copying a mark, then domain name disputes arise. Now, what is a trademark and what is a domain name? What are the differences between these two very important players in this domain name dispute? Trademark basically are identifiers of source in a marketplace. So all of you must have come across all these famous trademarks: Coca-Cola, Google, McDonald's, Nikon. So we're all familiar with what a trademark is. A domain name, like I mentioned, is simply an internet identifier. Can a domain name also be a trademark? By itself, a domain name is not a trademark. But if the domain name is used as an identifier of source for marketing goods, then it could acquire trademark use. Through use in commerce, it can acquire trademark rights. So this is as far as trademarks and domain names are concerned, basically.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing preliminary information on domain names. Now, can we move on to our second phase, that is on the domain name disputes? With advancement of e-commerce in India, disputes relating to domain name are on rise. So can you brief on the nature of domain name, why the dispute arise, and how the disputes are identified, and how to settle the disputes?
Yes, you're very right, Ganapriya, that there has been an exponential rise in e-commerce over the past few years, and more so now due to the pandemic and the recent lockdown. I think a lot of entities, a lot of businesses have tried to switch to an e-commerce platform, and consequently there's been a rise in the number of domain name registrations. And also this year there has been quite a exponential rise in the number of domain name disputes. So naturally, when there is a lot of e-commerce activity, there is bound to be a lot of disputes in this area. Now, domain name disputes basically arise when there is an abusive registration of a domain name. Now, what do we mean by abusive registration? Let us assume that somebody registers a well-known trademark like either google.com or tata.com, and then tries to sell it back to the owner of the trademark. That would be called cyber squatting. The term used for abusive domain name is cyber squatting. And people who try to exploit a mark and try to make money by either selling it to the trademark owner or to a competitor of the owner of the mark would be indulging in abusive domain name registration. And considering that there are about more than 50,000 domain name disputes that have been resolved till the present time, it is one of the most successful areas of arbitration so far. Now, let us just discuss the various types of domain name disputes. I had mentioned to you what is cyber squatting. Now, typo squatting is another form of or a variant of abusive domain name registration. And this happens when there is a misspelling, or let us say, we'll take the example of Google. Suppose instead of putting a double O, the registrant registers it with a triple O. That would be a typical example of typo squatting domain name. Then Google will file a case against the registrant in order to retrieve that domain name back from the registrant who has typo squatted on that domain name. Selling of counterfeit goods is another very prevalent way of misusing domain names. You will find Rolex for cheap .com or any of these big brands, almost like the original .com. So these are all selling counterfeit goods. using the trademark. Then apart from that, you have disputes that arise between authorized and unauthorized agents of companies. I will give you the example of Honda cars. Now, if the authorized agent should register HondaIndia.com, and then later if there's a falling apart and the owner of Honda disputes that the distributor was not liable to register the domain name or use the trademark, these all come in the form of domain name disputes. But these are not very typical. They're more, there are fewer such cases, and it all depends on the contract between the parties also. In the case of unauthorized agents, interesting case regarding this came up very early in 2001 or so. It is called the Okidata Parts case, in which the registrant had registered this okidataparts.com, and he was using the website to provide Okidata parts. Nominative fair use can be made of a trademark. That is, when you cannot use any other name to identify the trademark because you're selling the trademark parts like Okidata parts, then it would be in some circumstances found to be a legitimate use of the domain name. But the factors that have been laid down in the Okidata parts case is that the respondent must actually be offering the goods and services, and he must not be offering any other goods and services, and it must be used in such a manner that it is not used as a bait and switch. That is, you bait on the basis of the trademark and then you switch over to another product which is not the trademark product. And then the third aspect is you must disclose very clearly what is the relationship you have with the trademark. Suppose you are not the owner of the trademark, you have to mention that the trademark is owned by so and so very clearly on the website. And then the last aspect is you should not try to corner all the domain names in the market relating to that mark. If that is the case, then the Okidata parts factors will apply to cases where unauthorized sellers are using the domain name. We come now to the three important aspects of domain name disputes. Most of the domain name disputes require three elements to be complied with by the complainant or the trademark owner in order to succeed in a domain name case. Now, what are these three elements? The first one is that the domain name has to be confusingly similar or identical to a trademark or service mark in which the complainant has rights. So the second one is the complainant has to make a prima facie case. It's not necessarily that he has to give complete evidence and proof, but it's sufficient if he just makes a prima facie case that the registrant of the disputed domain name lacks right or legitimate interest in the domain name. And the third and most important part of domain name disputes is what I had told you about, abusive domain name registration. And that means that the domain name has been registered and is being used in bad faith under UDRP proceedings. Both these requirements are necessary, that is bad faith registration and bad faith use. But in the case of some other variants, like in the INDRP, it is sufficient to show that there has been either bad faith registration or bad faith use. Domain name disputes are generally decided on the basis of balance of probabilities.
Very informative, ma'am. Thanks for shedding light on the domain name disputes. You have clearly pointed out that if it is worth promoting, it is worth protecting. Ma'am, can we now move on to our third phase? Can you brief us on the policy and rules relating to domain name disputes?
Certainly. UDRP, or the Uniform Domain Name Dispute Resolution Policy, is the policy that has been adopted by ICANN, and it covers all GTLDs. As I told you, GTLDs are generic top-level domains. A number of countries have also adopted the UDRP or variants of the UDRP. Even the INDRP, you can say, is a variant of, to some extent, the UDRP, but there are some differences which I will talk about shortly. Presently, there are 6 service providers that have been appointed by ICANN. WIPO is the leading service provider. And apart from that, you have 5 other service providers. The Arab Domain Name Dispute Resolution Center, the Canadian International Dispute Resolution Center, the Czech Arbitration Court, National Arbitration Forum, and of course, as I mentioned, WIPO, which is the World Intellectual Property Organization. I am a panelist in both the WIPO as well as INDRP, and it has been my privilege to serve on both these important arbitration institutions. WIPO has been involved from the inception in determining the policy, the UDRP policy, and ICANN had requested WIPO to conduct a study based on which the UDRP is been made as a policy for all generic top-level domain names. Now, I'll just quickly go through the tabulation which I have here for you on the differences of the INDRP and the UDRP. In an INDRP, you would only be taking up disputes for the .in domain, the Indian 2-letter .in domain. In UDRP, it covers all the generic top-level domains, the GTLDs, and UDRP also covers those countries who have adopted the UDRP or who have adopted a variant of the UDRP. The INDRP, as I think I have already mentioned this to you, proving bad faith, you can show that there has been either bad faith registration or bad faith use. It is not necessarily to establish that there is both bad faith registration and use. However, in the UDRP, you have to establish both bad faith registration and bad faith use in order to succeed. The INDRP basically is an arbitration that is under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act of India, 1996, whereas the UDRP is an administrative proceeding that is done under the UDRP policy, the UDRP rules, and the service, the supplementary rules that are set up by the service provider. So each service provider will have their own set of supplementary rules. The fees to be paid also differs under these 2 types of arbitration. In the case of INDRP, the fees is entirely paid by the complainant. Whereas in the UDRP, if the respondent opts for a 3-member panel, then both the parties have to share the costs of the proceedings. In the case of INDRP, apart from the remedy of transfer or cancellation of the disputed domain name, costs can also be imposed by the arbitrator in the award. Whereas under the UDRP, no costs can be awarded and only the remedy of transfer or cancellation can be made. With regard to challenging the decision, under the INDRP, the High Court can be approached within 90 days from the date of the award. Whereas the UDRP provides for 10 days before which if within 10 days, the party, any aggrieved party approaches the court, then they can challenge the award. And after that, the decision becomes final. So these are the important aspects of the UDRP. Some of the countries, as I mentioned to you, have their own types of policies, like Malaysia, UK also has its own policy. So these countries have their own policies. They don't follow UDRP, but they are very similar.
We have gained knowledge on domain name, disputes, and the rules and policies. Can you enlighten with the procedures, ma'am, like how to file under INDRP, the remedy available, and enforceability and challenge of the award before the court?
Yes, domain name disputes are by far one of the easiest kind of disputes for filing, because it is all electronic filing. In fact, I would like to mention to you that recently, even the INDRP, which had earlier had only manual filings, have made it as electronic filing. So basically, the electronic filing involves drafting of a complaint, where I had mentioned to you the three aspects, which is you have to establish that the domain name is confusingly similar or identical to the mark, and then have a prima facie case that the respondent does not have any rights or legitimate interests, and also establish that there has been bad faith registration or use. If you've got all this in place in the complaint, then you can electronically file this complaint with the NIXI office, NIXI being the National Internet Exchange of India, and along with the filing fees, which is I think about rupees 34,500 presently. There are going to be some changes to the NIXI policy soon, so we will look out for that. And then once these documents are filed with NIXI, NIXI will do a compliance check, and then notify the parties that of the appointment of the panel from who panelist or the arbitrators chosen from a list which NIXI maintains of a number of panels. And once a panel is appointed and the case documents have reached the arbitrator has to send out a notification to the respondent stating that the arbitration has started, and to send in his response or reply within a certain number of days. So once the parties have made in their submissions, the arbitrator will render the decision, and the decision is communicated to the parties. As I have already mentioned, we touched upon this, the award can be challenged before a court, and you can do so under the UDRP within 10 days, and under the INDRP within 90 days of the award. So how do we enforce this award? That is the most important aspect, because that is a remedy we are looking at. And how is it that the registrar is involved in all this? Initially, when the registrar signs the agreement with the domain name registrant, in the agreement, there is a clause that says that if the domain name is found to be in any way infringing a third-party trademark or third-party rights, then if that third party files any case before either a court or any of the arbitration institutions, then they have to compulsorily be a party to that dispute. So that is why the respondent is necessarily a party to the dispute. And even if the respondent does not appear, he is still considered to be a party to the dispute because of the agreement that he has signed with the registrar. So the decision to either transfer or cancel the domain name once it has been given by the arbitrator and the waiting period is over, the 10 days or 90 days waiting period, as I mentioned earlier. It is sent to the registrar after the waiting period is over, and the registrar will then implement that decision of whether it is transfer or cancellation of the domain name. The remedies are very limited in all these domain name disputes. Under the UDRP, you can only request for a transfer or a cancellation. You cannot ask for costs. Whereas under the INDRP, you can also ask for costs. So you can ask for either transfer or cancellation or to be awarded costs. Many of the complainants as well as the respondents do ask for costs, but costs are very rarely actually awarded in many of the cases. If you go to court, you could also ask for other punitive damages. So this is where the differences lie. Court, of course, is much more cumbersome. It takes longer, it's more expensive. But if you have a fairly good case, some parties have even gone to court.
Thank you, ma'am. In arbitration, usually the decisions is not made public, it's kept confidential. But in domain name disputes, the awards are posted online. Why is that so, ma'am?
In arbitration, it has been a tradition that the arbitral awards are not generally reported like court decisions. So this has been the tradition for long. Whereas in the case of domain name disputes, even though it is in the nature of an arbitration, and in many other cases they are arbitration, the policy itself provides that these awards will be published on the website of the service provider. And I think it is a good thing because you get to read about these decisions. It's transparent, and people who want to file domain name disputes can derive a lot of information from these published decisions. WIPO also publishes an overview, which is very useful. It has compiled different questions. It's like an a frequently answered question type of format, very easy to go through. And suppose your case has some specific answers that you are searching for, the WIPO overview is a really useful tool for lawyers and other people who want to file domain name disputes.
Ma'am, you have enlightened us with the procedure and practical approach to domain name disputes. It will be great if you can share the experience as an arbitrator in .in registry and few interesting domain names you have resolved. And other than .in registry and courts, who can address the domain name disputes in India?
I think that's a good question, but we have only the courts. Apart from that, I don't think there are any other forums before which domain names can be resolved. So generally, people would prefer the service providers rather than go to courts because it is far more expeditious, as well as the expenses are much lower. So generally, anybody who wants to resolve domain name disputes do come only to the service providers. But I must also mention over here that sometimes some disputes which are of more like a trademark dispute try to also file domain name disputes because of the convenience of doing so. And some of these cases we do have to send them back to court because they require a lot of complicated questions of fact and law which cannot be resolved in the expeditious proceedings that we have before the service providers of domain name disputes. So yes, some trademark disputes have to be sent back to the courts. Now, I shall just briefly talk to you about two WIPO cases and then two INDRP cases on which I have served as a panel. The first WIPO case is the one here, which involved the domain name raja.com. Raja is trademark in France. A French company adopted this trademark for selling of packing material, and it has become quite a well-known French trademark. The domain name was registered by a software professional who is located in California. And when the dispute came up, he responded to the panel, a 3-member panel, and stated that he has registered the name Raja to reflect his own name as a vanity domain. And he provided all the documents to show that he indeed goes by the name of Raja. And he has been, using the domain name. And he had mentioned that a lot of other parties had tried to buy the domain name from him, including the complainant also had tried to make several offers to him. And after having failed to, get the domain name from him, they have approached WIPO. Now, in such a case, this is a genuine case of a party reflecting his own name. And it was found that the trademark owner would not be able to succeed in this case. The complaint failed, and the respondent Raja was able to retain the domain name because he had a genuine case. And then we come to the other case, which is tvs.com. TVS is a very well-known trademark here in India. We all know TV Sundaram Iyengar and Sons, and it has been used widely. Many Indians would know the TVS mark. But this domain name, TVS, was registered very early on, sometime I think in 2000, when the domain name registrations had just started. And the person was based in North America. He was in the US, and he says that he has not come across the TVS mark. And the complainant, TV Sundaram Iyengar, had not filed any evidence to show that their mark has been promoted in the US. Now, of course, the internet is, worldwide, and one can assume that, if a well-known mark has been used, it could be a reason to find that there has been abusive domain name registration. But in this case, the respondent, he showed that he had registered other 3-letter domain names as generic domain names and for use in a generic manner. He has used the domain name to display TVs, televisions, and because of the use of the domain name being in the similar lines for which it has been mentioned, televisions, TVS, the short form of televisions, the domain name was retained by the respondent, and it was found that the complainant had not provided enough material to show the fame and the reputation of his mark in the US, and therefore the respondent succeeded in this case. Now let us turn to some of the recent INDRP cases. Closer to home, we have parties from Chennai itself. This is a case where one party had started the business under the name Drop Taxi, and has promoted this mark from the year 2013. to 2016 for 3 years. In the year 2016, another party registers the domain name onewaydroptaxi.in. And subsequently, this party also gets a trademark registration for the domain for this name, One Way Drop Taxi, and also registers a company under that name. In the year 2019, the complainant states they sent a notice to One Way Drop Taxi saying that it infringes their mark Drop Taxi. And in 2020, they filed the case. Now, initially, when the complainant filed the case, they did not file the evidence to show that they had promoted the mark widely and that the drop taxi mark had become well known. Only subsequently, after the complaint was filed, the complainant has filed the relevant documents. So based on those relevant documents, the complainant had succeeded in getting back the domain name, which consists of its mark and the two generic words, one way, along with its mark, drop taxi. And the mark was transferred, and the domain name was transferred to the complainant in this case. We will just talk about the last case here, and that is CFA Institute versus Reshu Anand Singh. In this case, CFA Institute, which is a Chartered Financial Analyst Institute based in the USA, which is a very well-known institute, filed a case against CFA Academy and the domain name cfaacademy.co.in. And here, it is a typical case of bait and switch. That is, the CFA Academy mark has been used in order to, get the interest of many of the internet users. And then later, it is being used for imparting other educational courses that is run by the respondent. So in this case, again, the cfaacademy.co.in domain name was transferred back to the CFA Institute, the complainant. This case was sometime early this year in January. So this is basically the domain, a very, very primary view of, a very simple view of how domain name disputes arbitration works and, how the trend has been so far.
Thank you, ma'am, for a very wonderful session. Before we take questions from the audience, can you give some suggestions on how to be a domain name arbitrator? What are the requirements to be the one, and your inputs to person who wants to be the domain name arbitrator?
To be a domain name arbitrator, you would need to have experience in IP law, intellectual property law, particularly trademarks, and also have some experience in ADR, arbitration experience. And so this is the best way to apply. And of course, in the meanwhile, read up. Everything is available online and it's all published. All the decisions are published. There are several articles that are published on this area. So gain knowledge.
Now we can take questions from the audience, ma'am. So one person has asked, how to get enrolled in different panels which you have mentioned?
It is to make an application to the service providers, and as and when they have an opening, they would choose the panelist.
What technical knowledge should I have obtained before I start to adjudicate domain name disputes, and where I can gain the same?
Technical knowledge on the law, yes, you need to understand um, how domain name disputes are resolved. And technical knowledge can be obtained by reading all the decisions that have been put up publicly on all the websites of the service providers. So that is one area. Read up the articles also. Some of the articles give very good analysis on the technical and the legal aspects of domain name disputes.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any institution in India for adjudication of domain name disputes?
There is, as I mentioned to you, it is the National Internet Exchange of India, and the National Internet Exchange of India does it only for the .in CCLD top level domains.
If a particular trademark is obtained and a domain name is sought for the same, what protection is available on international standards?
Can you repeat that question, please?
If a particular trademark is obtained and a domain name is sought for the same, what protection is available on international standards?
Basically, a trademark is only for a local jurisdiction. Trademark is obtained only within a certain country. But WIPO has what is called, under the Madrid Treaty, you can file in several international jurisdictions and file for trademark registrations. And if you have been using it in other jurisdictions, obtain protection for your trademark in those other jurisdictions. But basically, trademark protection is only country specific. And if you have obtained protection of your trademark in one country, but there has been violation of your trademark in another country, it is possible to file a domain name and retrieve back the domain name which infringes your mark. So like in the INDRP and even in the UDRP, all you need to have is a trademark. It doesn't specify that you have to have a trademark in a specific country. If it is in one country, it's as good as any other country, because the internet is anyway an international resource and people have access to the internet worldwide. So having a trademark registration, you can protect your domain name by filing a domain name case.
Does passing of remedy is available for domain name disputes?
Yes, passing of a remedy. Passing of an award, giving the remedy of transfer or
Passing off the domain name as a remedy.
passing off, okay.
Yes,
As a remedy. Yes, in a way, suppose you don't have trademark registration for your mark, then you would be required to file what is called documents to show that you have common law rights in the mark. And in order to establish common law rights in the mark, you would have to file media recognition of your mark, that you have used it widely, and invoices showing how much you have spent, third party recognition of your mark. So all those kind of documents have to be filed in order to establish that you have common law rights in your mark. Once you're able to establish that, then even if you don't have a trademark registration or a statutory protection for your mark, you can still file the case and still succeed if the other factors all weigh in your favor.
Next, is mediation route available in domain name disputes?
Generally, the service providers are only for arbitration or for administrative proceedings. But if a party comes forward and says, I would like to settle this dispute, then the parties are encouraged to talk between themselves and come to a settlement. No mediator is appointed in such cases, but the parties themselves sometimes come to a settlement and they file settlement a petition before the arbitrator. But very rarely, because since the registrar requires a document from a legal authority, either it be an arbitration award or a court order, in order to give the remedy. So generally, even if the parties do come to a settlement, the arbitration award is passed in terms of the settlement, saying that the parties have decided to settle and therefore whatever is their settlement, either to retain or to transfer, we give the award accordingly, and whatever is the settlement is enforced.
So now, which type of issues and challenges are facing by the consumers in Trademark Act? Is there a need to establish a tribunal for IPR matters in India?
That is actually not related to domain name disputes, but there is, an IPAB. There's a tribunal for the appellate orders of the trademark office. So there is a tribunal already in existence for all the IP matters. So if there are any orders from the trademark registry that need to be challenged, instead of going to the High Court as earlier, these matters are appealed before the IPAB, the Intellectual Property Appellate Board.
Ma'am, it's the same question what you have answered early. Don't you think posting awards related to domain name disputes would be violation of confidentiality? That is something fundamental to arbitration.
Not all arbitration needs to be confidential. And in this case, as I had mentioned to you, this is your domain name and it does go for arbitration proceeding. These awards are going to be published. So there is no violation in publishing domain name dispute awards.
Okay, ma'am. If there is a dispute between two countries, how jurisdiction is decided and where a further appeal is decided in such case?
And that is a very interesting question indeed. Actually, domain name disputes are invariably between parties who are situated in two different countries. You could have Chinese cyber squatter sitting on an American trademark on a .in domain, and the domain name is resolved. The arbitration award is given here in India, but the jurisdiction as such doesn't play. In fact, it's one of the really good aspects of domain name disputes is that if one had to start looking at the jurisdictional aspects, it will become a nightmare. I mean, which kind of whether you follow the local law of the respondent or the complainant, and in which country to implement, etc. So domain name disputes have really been a success story in international arbitration, and they have been able to provide trademark owners with very good, easy remedy in order to implement these decisions to stop cyber squatting and online.
So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for answering most of the questions, and we still have a few questions left unanswered. We'll write to the panelists and we'll get back to that via mail. So thank you all the attendees for your sincere presence. So thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Ganapriya ma'am, for your neat moderation. So I would like to ask Mr. Inbo Jain sir to give you concluding remarks.
So you have to unmute.
Yeah. Good afternoon. It is so nice to see Mrs. Harini Narayansamy after a decade. I think
Likewise, likewise. Yes, it's nice to see you.
and it was like a total suspense that before this webinar, intentionally I avoided discussing with you and wanted to have about this all this presentation. I need to just literally hear what the domain name, what I learned from you a decade back. I could even remember now the earlier days when we used to meet in I think in Besan Nagar, that location also. We used to discuss about the domain name, which was in the very nascent period, like
Hmm.
a cradle baby it was.
Yes, it's
Now,
come a long way now. It's
yeah,
come a
now
long
it's
way.
really a long way,
Mm.
and the reach, the outreach, what the NICSI has facilitated when it comes to .indrp disputes resolution has made the senior arbitrators like Mrs. Harini to be very active, and I'm really happy that Mrs. Harini Narayansamy has shared all her experience, the practical experience, what she got out of this .indrp dispute resolution process. And interestingly, in many part, I feel that still we are saying that it is an emerging trend. Domain name dispute is considered just to be an emerging trend, like how the Arbitration Act is still being told that we are in the initial stages, even though 25 years have gone. Still, we say that it is in the initial stage. Likewise, domain name, which was considered to be an emerging trend, even before the pandemic, we thought that it is somewhat like an emerging trend. Now it is being a very common dispute resolution platform, particularly this sector. And this sector, rightly, as I could join your presentation around 3:15, I could hear what the experience, what we got now with this .indrp in lines with the UNDRP. And the way how it is going, I think at one point of time, NICSI and .indrp would supersede this WIPO Arbitration Mediation Center when it comes to the caseloads. The statistic is really good, and it is going to be a good opportunity for Indian practitioners. I think Mrs. Harini also would accept that the Indian practitioners who are in this particular IPR, intellectual property related practice, as well as a reasonable level of arbitration practice, if they could understand this very special sector specific arbitration, even though it is not like a normal commercial arbitration, it has its own statutory backup and how it works. That young practitioners, if they could get opportunity, and that's the way how they are going to involved in these domain name disputes, at one point of time, that will take even the commercial arbitration to documents only. Interestingly, the
Yes,
documents only.
absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. And actually, I think domain name disputes have been a precursor for virtual hearings and online dispute resolution. And it has shown the way and it has been successful. And especially during a time like this pandemic, where everybody is locked down and now the courts are also going virtual. The model followed by domain name disputes of electronic filing. Of course, hearings are not there in UDRP, but under the INDRP, limited hearings are there. So virtual court hearings, all the documents being in electronic format. I think we are slowly moving towards that in the future. And I think I would proudly say that domain name disputes has been, the leader in this, and it has shown the way of how these disputes can be resolved completely online.
Yeah, that words truly we will also accept, ma'am. And now it's become the new normal, which was earlier somewhat like Latin and Greek. Now it has become a new normal, and we all are accepting, even in our commercial arbitration, and being the domain name dispute arbitration a pioneer in this modality of dispute resolving the disputes. It has now been accepted, and in my personal note also, we also are accepting and doing the arbitration properly in the virtual field, and this has made it really a interesting task, and we from KFCRA are very happy to host you today, and we are very interested to learn from you a lot about the recent and emerging trends and the recent impacts about this domain name disputes. And it is my sincere request that this webinar is going to be just a beginning for you, for your association KFCRA. In future, we have a lot of ideas, and KFCRA is going to take this webinar to the next level of reaching even a course, exclusively course, a training course on domain name disputes. And for that, we need your guidance. That is going to be continuous. I think I had the privilege to not even ask you. We are just fixing you. You are going to take the lead, and we are going to guide KFCRA in taking in this sector specific arbitration.
Thank you very much. I look forward to that opportunity. I really would like to share my knowledge on this field, whatever I have gained from this field, with other younger people. And definitely, it's a very interesting area of law and arbitration. So most certainly, I would like to be, engaged in, imparting education or knowledge in this area.
Thank you. Thank you. And before handing over to Dave regarding some valuable information about KFCRA, I have to thank Shanmugh Dev, the managing committee member, as well as Mrs. Gana Priya to moderate this session in an excellent manner. And thanks for hosting my other managing committee members, Svetan and Shahrukh, for hosting this event. And now I'll hand it over to Shanmugh Dev.
So thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, once again. And I thank my entire KFCRA team who's working behind the wheel for this smooth happening of this webinar. So a bit of logistics. We have our AMP course, that is Associate at Mediation course, which is to be conducted in the upcoming week. And it is on 27th of September. So this is for all the basic beginners in the area practice who want to get accreditation in the mediation. So whoever is interested can write us to the email kfcra.adr@gmail.com, which is also in the chat box. And you can for all the unanswered questions, and if you have any more questions, please write to us at kfcra.adr@gmail.com. And since I see so many students gathered here for their benefit, we have our upcoming national mediation competition, that is virtual, so which is likely to be conducted from September 10th to 12th. And if you like to get participated, you can contact us for the same. So thank you all.
Thank you.